IVM.
So welcome to a special episode of Football Shootball. So in spite of the exciting US Open, the amazing Italian GP, the spectacular Ashes and the Khabib special over the weekend, I sure as hell miss football, man. There is no madness like FPL madness. What a bummer these international breaks are. I get the Euros are going to be kick-ass and we need those qualifications to happen and these international teams to play. But, damn it, bring back the football. Anyway, this special episode is special because it's from a line of episodes we recorded because we feel passionately about these topics. Today's episode is actually about football fights. Who would have thought of that? Now this is very close to someone's heart out of the three of us. Which one? Stay tuned to find out. It's me.
Sapre, you seem to have a very cool head on your shoulders. And I don't get into scraps, because I can't throw a punch. But we have a friend who used to bully school kids and take their lunches. And he's proud of it. Shivram, welcome to a fight special of Football Shootball, specially for you.
Thank you. That just made it sound so weird. When I was in school, I used to bully other kids and take their lunches. Not generally, like I don't go today to take people's lunches.
Sodexo coupons.
Sodexo coupons, yeah. We've upgraded ourselves.
How proud are you of this achievement, Shivram?
See, these are all urban legends. I am from Delhi. I will try and distance myself as much as I can. I tell people I've polished myself a little better now that I'm in Bombay. But some things, bad habits don't go away.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't get my lunch today to work.
You realize even your denial is aggressive. So.
Why are you being aggro, bro? Don't hate, bro.
So then, today will be fast, today will be furious, and today will be fiery. I'm Karthik Iyer, and with me are Gaurav Sapre and Shivram Parmeshwaran, and this is Football Shootball. Okay, we're going to dive right into it, guys. Yeah, the Battle of Old Trafford. We grew up on it. It was probably during the first seasons that we were watching. When was it? 2003?
2003, 2004, yeah, the season-defining moments.
Say the Invincibles now. We'll get that done with, then we'll get into the fights.
I was waiting for that segue. Oh, you love the word segue, don't
you? Also, very poor choice of words. When you say this is going to be a fiery fight-induced episode, don't use the word dive. Right? Shivram may know a thing or two about dives.
I mean, is there a Barcelona supporter amongst us? No, so let's move on.
Okay, so we'll punch our way into it. It is when the end of the game, it is 0-0. The game was a bit drab. Ruud van Nistelrooy steps up to take a penalty. He's been in a lot before during the game as well because if I remember correctly, he got Patrick Vieira sent off and a lot of the Arsenal players were not pretty pleased with it.
Can we take a moment to discuss the Patrick Vieira send off?
Yeah.
Because Vieira did next to nothing. Literally what happened is they were both going for the ball close to, I think this was the final third of the field. And they were both jumping for the ball. At least Ruud van Nistelrooy was jumping for the ball. I personally never liked Nistelrooy because I'm an Arsenal fan. I have many names to call him. I will not because they're not politically correct. But what really happened was Nistelrooy jumped to get the ball and he essentially landed on Vieira and his elbow got Vieira in the back. Vieira fell down. Vieira turns around. He essentially just not even kicked, like he put his leg out into the air, got nothing. Right? Nistelrooy looked at the leg, turned around at the referee and it felt like he got shot or something, right? And next moment, the referee's there and Vieira gets his second yellow. And if you hear in the post-match interviews, they're both discussing that Vieira incident because that was a critical turning point because that's what got the blood boiling.
Don't you wish for VAR then?
I don't know. I'm very, undecided on VAR still. But
you're right when you say that. Vieira did nothing in the game as well.
He did nothing in that game. He did that one thing and he got sent off for that, poor guy. Vieira has forever been one of the best Arsenal midfielders to exist. But moving on, coming back to what actually happened with the penalty.
So, Nistelrooy steps up. Sapre?
Yeah, before that, I think Diego Forlan was the one who was tackled in the penalty area.
In stoppage time. Nothing less.
Him being a striker, Nistelrooy said, no, this is Arsenal versus United. I am going to step up and
मैं मारूंगा.
मैं मारेगा. या तो Fergie मेरे को मारेगा. तो मैं जा रहा. You are anyways not scoring goals at United. I am, so let me do this.
तो इसके बाद 4 क्लब तो चले ही जाओगे, I'm guessing.
Yeah, also he spoke in Dutch, so Forlan had no idea what he was saying.
हाँ, सही बोल रहे हो, तो मैं लेता हूँ.
So Nistelrooy comes. And poor guy, I think Lehmann was the goalkeeper back then, and
Jens Lehmann.
He was dancing around the.
He did the Jersey Dudek before Dudek, the shaking and the wagging and everything.
Yeah, so he was doing all of that, and Nistelrooy did miss the penalty, hit the crossbar,
What a smashing penalty that was. But it came back faster than it was hit. So I think like the new United player, Ed Woodward. But it came back faster than it was hit. And what a smashing penalty. And then obviously it didn't end up going into the net. The game didn't stop. But the Arsenal players decided it was time to talk to
They jumped to conclusions, literally. And started pouncing on him.
I mean, I will never forget that.
And Nislo actually did not react. So he was saying,
I mean, there is not much to react to considering you've missed the key moment, like which was decider, right? Game decider. And then that image which is, burnt into my head and will forever be is Keown jumping over Nistelrooy and everyone, I think Lauren came and kicked him in the back and, all of that happened.
Yeah.
And then the next cut is Ronaldo's trying to, act cool. And, he's behind two United players, but he's becoming bigger.
This is Ronaldo with the stud on his ear.
No, but didn't if
Dirty
memory
hair.
serves me right, I think Giggs was one of the players who was fined. And I think the second player from United was Ronaldo to be fined.
Yes, the two of them.
Yeah, and I think a bunch of players from Arsenal got some heavy fines.
Yeah.
Which was very good for us. So we...
अरे पैसा क्या है हाथ की मैल है आज है कल नहीं है.
We lost the battle, but we won the war. Is kind of
Sure,
feeling
won
that
the
I get.
war. Arsenal won the entire season.
Spoiler alert, guys. We're at 2003. We still have a long way to go.
Of course, times have changed.
It's only been 16 years since. So I'm hoping to watch the game by now.
But yeah, that's the apt finish to every United Arsenal game in 2003. And it lived up to his hype. So still memories. Now the teams don't really do much, but back then it was just...
Yeah, the end of the game is exactly how every single Indian Super League game has been for the past 5 seasons. It has to end in a fight. I think it's written in their contract. Once the 90 minutes plus injury time is done, get at it.
The same Big Boss का director है.
तुम्हारा footage नहीं आ रहा, थोड़ा लड़ाई करो.
No, but they're cowards here, yeah? They go hit each other on the back and run. There are these Brazilian strikers, Mumbai FC used to play for 2-3 years ago. I forget his name. He just hit one guy at the back and he starts running around the cooperage.
I like how you conveniently forgot his name considering they are in Mumbai.
Hey, it'll be some Emerson, Jefferson.
You'll put me before them anyway, so I'll have to fight that fight also. So
yeah, so many other moments in the United-Arsenal rivalry. I think one of the big ones. What happened in the season immediately after that, Shivra? Did your memory serve you right?
No, my memory doesn't serve me anything.
Do you want to eat something? Maybe a pizza?
Oh man, I mean, popularly known as Pizzagate, from one of the best players Arsenal has, borrowed from Barcelona for a little bit of time before he said, "Meko वापस जाना है."
Also, according to Kavita, has one of the best names.
Cesc Fabregas.
Yes.
I mean, in contention is Sebastian Schweinsteiger. Yeah. I think arguably one of the best names in football till date.
Amsa Tiger Schweinsteiger.
Oh my God. Okay.
So every time I say Fabregas, my wife, she can't stop laughing for the next 5 minutes.
Because it's sex.
Because it's gas.
Oh man.
And she'll be like Fabregas, his brother Gobar Gas and his sister.
Wow. That was really bad. We've lost everyone who has ever tuned into this. Like they've, even in the future, if they were planning to, they have now tuned out.
But you have to set the right example. You can't tell her that Fulham is the better team in England. And that becomes a benchmark, correct?
No, but that is her joke.
Everything
benchmark.
from there is just downwards.
Correct. I mean,
so I partly blame you for it. Don't blame Supriya for it. Yeah.
No, okay.
Supriya, we love you.
Where are we at? We're at Arsenal, 49 games.
Yes.
Unbeaten. They're going for number 50. United, of course, the game we spoke about, the battle at Old Trafford, ended 0-0. There was another game in the middle that also had nothing going for it. It was a draw. Yeah. It was a 1-1 draw.
Henry scored.
And now we're here. It's 49. Of course, Arsenal want the 50th unbeaten game in a row. It's still 0-0 at a certain point in time. And then what happens? We have 2 goal scorers, 2 of United's probably greatest strikers. Would you say that, Sapre? Nistelrooy and Rooney?
So much there to pick up from. I don't know. Maybe, but yes, arguably. At that point in time.
At that point in time, yeah. So it ends 2-0. Arsenal have probably never recovered from that losing the...
I think I still go back to the 49 games. I'm happy. And 49 has a nice ring to it. So I'm okay with
but that loss resulted into something, right? All that anguish coming out. Of course, and Shivram, you can talk about the Pizzagate incident because it's so close to your heart.
I like pizza, man.
But what I also like is, according to sources,
The Sun,
that the Arsenal players and the United players did not do the formal handshake or change of jerseys, apparently because the Arsenal boys were wearing a t-shirt inside which said 50 not out.
Oh, that is so true. That is so true.
like अभी t-shirt तो कपड़े तो उतर गए, t-shirt तो नहीं उतार सकते.
So that's the reason. But yeah, whatever happened in the tunnel, which is now out in the autobiography. But you have to have the balls to just start throwing things at a person who's known at throwing things at other people.
I mean, amazing. I mean, that also came. He threw harder things at Beckham, but then what ingenious. I mean, एक तो पहले पिज्जा कहाँ से मिला Fabregas को? Domino's. 30 minutes I thought free. ठीक है, so 60th minute he's like, sir, hello, can I place an order to Old Trafford? This is like Omji Jagdish, when Jagdish is Jagdish, right?
Abhishek Bachchan.
He's delivering pizza, right? So when you are at a company party and you're delivering pizza, right, and obviously someone's placed the order, so pizza boys don't go in and deliver it to the CEO. Right? That doesn't happen. They give it to the guy at the reception or whoever. I mean, तुमने 50 pizza मंगाया तो तुम CEO के cabin में घुस जाओगे क्या 50 pizza लेके? But then that is what happened. Fabregas got his hands on some pizza because that is what Arsenal used to eat back then.
But Abhishek Bachchan solved that issue, no? The virus or something that was there in 1 minute.
100 seconds, not 1 minute. Give him a little longer.
So did Fabregas, right? He solved the issue. He went there to do something. He managed to do it. Came out quietly for a long time. Nobody knew really.
For everyone who doesn't know what actually happened, so there was a scuffle in the tunnel. Fabregas comes out with a slice of pizza and essentially throws it at one of the best managers I think football has ever known, which is Sir Alex Ferguson, and he hits him right square in the face, and that is since known as Pizzagate.
So, do you guys know? You have seen Breaking Bad.
Of course.
Yeah.
The scene where Walter White throws
the pizza.
Correct.
It was inspired by this battle of the buffet between Arsenal and
Did
Manchester.
you just make this up?
Yeah, it's not true.
What a moment I was like, is he going to give us trivia like...
And plus, I'm like united in pop culture. I'm so happy inside.
Do you really think Bryan Cranston is going through Wikipedia pages looking at, buffet mein kya hai?
Then he'll tell me he's got to Veron look also. Good boy. So Pizzagate happened.
Veron, he could have done better doing...
But it was revealed I think in Sir Alex's autobiography, he did mention that yes, a pizza was thrown at me, and I think it was Fabregas. There was no allegedly. But later in an interview, says Fabregas actually admitted to doing it.
Fabregas, I think, tweeted with a pizza emoji. So I think
he was waiting for Twitter to come. One day I'll do this.
I think Fabregas essentially admitted to it, but that's besides the point. I think it's really cool to be able to throw... Like, it was literally a food fight. I mean, the two of the biggest clubs in the English Premier League and arguably the world are throwing food at each other. I mean, talk about competent.
So how has it reached this stage? Is it that the two managers never liked each other? But how have we come here? Because I remember in the old first division, just the season before the Premier League, both these sides apparently had a 20-person brawl on the pitch where they were both docked points. Now that is unheard of in this day and age, like teams being docked points for fighting on the pitch. Apparently in that match, the only person who didn't fight was David Seaman.
Yeah. He kept out of it. He said, I have to come to work next week.
खेलना तो England के लिए है ना? And where do you think most English players play?
I have some loans that I need to pay. I will protect the goal.
But it really started once Wenger came from Japan to the Premier League.
Wenger who?
Arsene
who?
Came from Japan to the Premier League, and then there were some unsavory scenes between Ian Wright and Peter Schmeichel during, I think, the 96-97 season.
I think 96. And it happened in both legs. In the first leg, this is also an accusation that was thrown at Schmeichel that he racially abused the striker. And in the second leg, he lunges to take the ball and he knocks...
this is Ian Wright lunging.
Ian Wright lunging and taking off Peter Schmeichel on its way. So it was all a revenge moment of sorts. But I think they've made up. The FA had to write a letter saying that, guys...
Write a letter?
Yeah, dude, they're like, formal letter had gone
this
saying...
finds you in the pink of health.
People are looking up to you, you're so inspirational. Please end this feud. This is not going to work. So yeah, they ended.
Write a letter just makes me laugh.
Yeah, they had to. Like, formally had to. So yeah, the rivalry's been going on. I think Fergie in his early days was also quite aggressive. And Wenger is French, so you really can't really blame him for who he is. He's just French.
To the proprietor. Urmila Traders.
Is it true that the reason Ferguson was not very impressed by Arsene Wenger at the start was because Arsene Wenger refused to have the customary drink post-game?
Yeah, Arsene Wenger he revolutionized the diet of everyone, like professional footballers. And
with
he came
pizza.
No, I think pizza was just Fabregas. I think that was the Barcelona in him. But I think he revolutionized it because from what I've read in like a few books is he essentially changed the idea of, eating like mashed potatoes before a game to carb up. He introduced the concept of lean meat, the concept of fish, the salads, and all of that was him. And I can't, I don't see it being hard to believe that he doesn't want to drink before a game. Maybe after the game.
No, it was after the game, and Arsene Wenger apparently refused to have. In England, there used to be this custom where two managers will get together in the home manager's office and have a drink, and apparently Arsene just refused because he's like, if I've lost, I don't want to have a drink with the guy gloating next to me.
Also, Fergie is known to have the best wine kept for the manager of the other team. One of the reasons why Mourinho enjoyed his interactions with Ferguson is because of the wine that Ferguson used to serve at Old Trafford.
Nicely lubricated Mourinho is...
and because Mourinho used to win those matches, he didn't gloat. He was just happy going there. But I think the two managers, the amount of impact that they had on their teams also came into the players. Right? The aggression was there to be seen on the ground, sometimes off the ground, in the tunnel as well.
Yeah. The passion, the pure passion.
Which brings me to the infamous incident that happened between, again, Patrick Vieira.
I think we can stop saying infamous. Everything that happened in this episode is
actually,
infamous.
in that era, it was.
Infamous, yeah.
So that was one big fight. Happened in the tunnel. Like, we are waiting to see the match and wanting for something to happen on the ground. Some tackles flying in, some red cards. These guys are going at it in the tunnel itself.
What legendary captains.
Legendary captains.
Why wait till we get on the field? Let's talk now.
So that was another fantastic incident, which was... And Shivram, you've spoken about Arsene Wenger, and I was just telling you how Ferguson's mentality came in to his players.
Yeah.
And that side of Ferguson also came out when he was unhappy with his players. One of the famous incidents there is when United lost the FA Cup 5th round to Arsenal.
Bichara Beckham.
In the dressing room. Someone did really bent it like Beckham.
Dude, I read Beckham's autobiography. I forget what it was called because it was so boring. I think I left it midway. I love Beckham. He's an amazing player. I mean, the goal against Wimbledon and the beautiful crosses into the box. Amazing player. But then that autobiography was so drab. I think he could have done a much better job of it. And I'm digressing, but he also addresses the incident of the shoe. And it hit him square in the face again. He, I think, got a couple of stitches above his eye, on his eyebrow. Yeah. So, I mean, Ferguson angry is Ferguson to be scared of.
And at that time, Beckham is what? He's Kohli-esque.
Yeah,
for
he's
England.
huge. And huge. Yeah, and he's also the captain.
And
right?
also, Beckham does mention the fact that every time in training, when we were taking penalties or kicks closer to the goal, Fergie used to always come, the gaffer, that's what they called him. He always used to come and kick the balls and say, this is how I used to hit when I was a striker. And nobody really, they believed him, but not to that extent.
Relax.
So look at the strikers at United. I mean, you're telling me you're better than them. And then Beckham said, but when I saw that shoe being flung at my eye, I realized that what he was saying must be true probably in that time.
Imagine someone throwing a shoe at your face and you're not being able to do anything about it. Like,
well, he did leave afterwards.
He did leave. But then also, he said in his biography, Ferguson, that particular year, we had heard stories about his camp talking to Madrid a lot. So his intensity in training and in matches had gone down. And he was solely blaming him for what had happened. And there were a pile of clothes actually on the floor. This is what is happening. Ferguson
that is the story.
That's the cover up, of course.
Yeah.
But it hit Beckham and he left,
I mean, what a loss for United. Beckham then went to Madrid and did not much, as far as I can remember.
Well, he was under another madcap there, Fabio Capello.
I mean, he was a part of the Galacticos, so there was a Zidane and a Guti and, of course, Beckham, and they were a fantastic team.
I think that was the last big incident involving Arsenal and
because
United.
after that, I think both the teams lost so much intensity. But that's also, says a lot about football today. There's so much money that is riding on these teams, and there's so much that these managers are basically fund managers. They're not managing teams anymore. They're managing buys and sells, and they're trying to get seats on, butts on seats all the time. And the pressure of money shows, right? And sometimes that passion gets taken away because you're just so much more worried about the numbers.
Yeah, you become wiser in that sense this has to also make good business.
Yeah.
Also, I think post Mourinho coming in the Premier League and at Chelsea, the advantage that both United and Arsenal were at was broken. Like, that was disrupted for the first time. And Arsenal's still trying to claw its way back.
I think even before City, Chelsea,
those 2 seasons under Mourinho.
Yeah.
Third season, of course, he got fired.
Roman Abramovich. I mean, third time is the charm, isn't it?
But by the time he had left, I think City came back with money. Liverpool had a consistent investment, whatever. So, and United was still winning the titles. Arsenal were winning FA Cups.
The odd FA Cup.
Yeah, so there was
losing to Birmingham in the Carling Cup.
So the rivalry then went, and I think post 2013, I think both these teams have been struggling.
Yeah.
Equally, if not more than each other.
No, you've hit the nail on the head. Mourinho was the game changer here. And I hate to say it, but this rivalry is now down in the dumps.
Did you just say it too? Yeah. Wait, I'll just take my shoe off. Nice.
Very nice.
You remember that lunch I take away? I take away dinners also. Bahar milo tum.
The rivalry has gone because the success has gone.
Yeah, I mean, if both of us are not winning, why are we fighting against each other?
Nanga naega kya, nichodega kya.
Correct.
Yeah, no, this is a little too friendly. I expected a bit more sparks to fly between y'all. No, that's not the right way of putting it.
Absolutely not. I think that's a different show.
So no more rivalry. It's just nice to also. Now I think Lingard is the one who pisses Arsenal fans the most because he's just like a.
He's got a chul.
He's got a mom and pop thing about him, right? He's just got chul, yeah, correct. He's not.
Karthik doesn't understand chul.
I that ladki, beautiful, kar gaye chul. Same chul, na?
Yes, both like Badshah.
I know that one. I asked you only over messages one day.
Yeah, correct. You asked me, correct.
Badshah is a United fan.
Lucky you. Very nice.
So rivalry down the drain. So sad, yeah. Feel bad for the new generation to not being able to see that and witness it.
Yeah, they won't be able to A, enjoy that, and B, there's no Fulham anymore, so who do we hate on?
Also, I don't know if the younger generation really wants to support a United and Arsenal, considering they're not winning too much.
Yeah, I've seen so many City fans now that I've seen Leicester City fans also. I'm like, okay, you woke up one season, what happened after that?
You went to Bangkok for a vacation, that's what you're talking about. You got Leicester City fans.
Came back with King Power from duty free.
But like I see so many City fans, Liverpool fans are still around for whatever reason. Then there's all these other clubs that are now making their inroads into India with the marketing of football is getting so big. So there's so much more exposure. Pehle to it started with only United games getting aired, so exposure was such. Then Arsenal United, that rivalry, Arsenal saw that glory. Now there's not so much glory to talk of. We're all trying to keep up. So
I agree to that. There's nothing to look forward to.
Do you miss it? Do you miss the aggression, the protagonist, the antagonist, the trilogy that we had, the Battle of Old Trafford, the Battle of the Buffet, the
Now it happens on Twitter.
I certainly miss that, but it was fair to see that because both the teams were really competing with each other for the title and the other cups.
There's a make or break. So now there's no make or break.
Yeah, so there was something to hold on to or to fight for. Right now you have nothing.
And these were these legendary players, right, who were aggressive to begin with. Like a Gattuso for Milan will always be aggressive. Like, and a Costa for Atletico. Right? Costa, when Real Madrid played Costa in pre-season, he doesn't understand what's a friendly. है ना, वो तभी 7 goal तो हारा. तो मतलब that level of aggression is missing from these players, and these players are not born leaders.
Yeah. No, when
they're all trying to keep up.
When you talk about Gattuso, it reminds me of an incident. This is captured in Pirlo's biography, which is called I Play Therefore I Am.
Yeah.
Where he says Gattuso was an absolute madcap.
No,
back then as a player. Now nobody listens to him. But he was a madcap, right? He was the Roy Keane version in Milan. And because of his attitude, everybody used to pick on him. So one fine night...
That is counterintuitive.
No, but one fine night, he got so pissed off. He took a fork and put it through a couple of players' thighs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they were hurt, and the management had to come out the next day and say these two players will not play because they were injured in training. And Gattuso played.
Illness.
But Gattuso played.
Wow.
And I like how all of it revolves around food. Yeah, there's a fork or there's pizza. Very nice.
So one of the reasons also those fights don't happen is you don't have that kind of players right now who are willing to have their emotions on the sleeve and do so much, especially for the club. I think everybody's matured. With or without the bag. Yeah. Everybody's a mature.
Oh, great. So we'll leave Arsenal versus Manchester United in the past. We let Alexis Sanchez's piano play us out. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with more fights and more madcaps in the Premier League.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, just a reminder, please do make sure that if you're listening to something that you enjoy, take a screenshot of that, tag us on one of our social media handles, and we'll retweet you or share you or, I don't know, whatever works in the different handles, right? On Cyrus Says this week, Cyrus is joined by Shrishti Arya, Director of International Originals at Netflix India. They talk about the upcoming slate of original Indian movies on Netflix and also touch upon the online streaming wars. On Agla Station Adulthood, hosts Ayushi and Ritasha are joined by the cast of Dice Media show Adulting, and they share some stories about growing up. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik is joined by Pradeep Narayan, Research Director at Praxis Institute of Participatory Practices. Pradeep breaks down the prevalence and evils of caste in India today. On a simplified shorty, Chuck and Shrika talk about Pablo Escobar, hippos and cocaine, and the bizarre legacy that connects the three. You don't want to miss this. You can also listen to Chuck on his short solo podcast, The Origin of Things, where he narrates a story about a Hungarian immigrant and yellow journalism, which led to one of the most prestigious accolades of modern history. It's a crossover episode on the Empowering series, as Zarina is joined by the host of The Habit Coach, Ashton Doctor, and his dad, Wispy Doctor, to talk about the idea of starting Awesome 180. And on Ashton's own show, The Habit Coach, he shares 6 foundational habits for an awesome life. On Football Shootball, hosts Gaurav, Karthik and Siva bring to you a special episode where they talk about the greatest brawls in football. On Varta Lab, host Akash and Naveen are joined by rapper Onkar Pujari, who goes by the stage name Yeda Anna. The three of them talk about Onkar's journey in the Indian rap scene. On Geek Fruit, Tejas and Dinkar take a look at actors who moonlight as musicians and draw the distinction between vanity projects and music that endures. On Golgappa, Trupti is joined by Deepika Matre, who shares the story of her roller coaster ride from being a house help to a jewelry seller to doing stand-up comedy. Also, if you are in control of a brand and you want your brand to have their promos read on our podcast network, do get in touch with us. You can write to us on advertisers@indusvox.com. And with that, let's get you onto your show.
So welcome back to Football Shootball. You're still here with me, Sapre and Karthik.
Woohoo!
We spoke about teams fighting within themselves, but what about teams fighting within each other? I had the privilege of watching this live, and this is one of the best fights I've been able to watch on live TV, because back then I don't think there was a delay of any sort. I don't think there was a director to that degree of control saying cut away from the streaker, because back then you'd see the streaker run on the pitch.
And we were lucky because that day we probably had just one game coming on TV and the rest were not. So luckily
Correct.
This game was telecast.
Yeah, luckily this game was on, and this is such an amazing story. This is basically, we're going to talk about Kieran Dyer and Lee Boyer. They're probably you might not have heard of them if you're a football fan of late, but and this was also back in the day, right? This was 2005.
Pretty so slow.
I'm sure he's heard of it because we just spoke about it outside. So back in 2005, and I'll just give you a little more context. Villa and Newcastle were at the cusp of crossing into the top half of the table. They were 10th and 11th respectively. This in April, so closer to now there's nothing to lose, nothing to gain. You're obviously past the relegation stage. What happened is when Villa played Newcastle, Villa is actually doing really well. They opened the scoring in the first 10-15 minutes when one of the better named strikers, Juan Pablo Angel, I love saying that name, Juan Pablo Angel scored. So Villa go 1 up, and then for the next, I think, half and then a little more, it's an evenly contested game. After that, they get a penalty, and this is the funniest penalty. If you have access to YouTube, please go YouTube this and watch this. What happens is Steven Taylor, who's in defense for Newcastle, and Shea Given, I'm sure everyone's heard of Shea Given, legendary keeper. Shea Given gets rounded off by the Villa striker, and then between the goal and the ball, there's Steven Taylor, and the striker takes a shot, and Steven Taylor essentially put his hand out, right? I mean, doesn't fly today anymore, but he put his hand out, right? And what do you do when you put your hand out? Do what Steven Taylor did. He essentially went down like he got shot, right? After he realized, see, it's a red card. Plus, it's going to be a penalty because he was right in the way of the ball. He just fell apart, right? And the referee's like, what the hell, right? And then this happened. They got a penalty. They scored one. Then they scored another penalty, right? Now, this is around the 80th minute. Both teams are like pissed off. Newcastle's pissed off with each other. And so you see the camera pan. And
so this is Newcastle building towards a goal in
yes.
the not dying minutes, but I think in the last 10 minutes.
Last 10 minutes or something. I mean, all hope is lost. It's the 80th minute. It's 3-0. And Newcastle's walking towards the Villa goal. And at the bottom of the screen on the left corner, you see Lee Boyer and Kieran Dyer, who both play for Newcastle, suddenly are fighting with each other. And this happened to me when I was watching it live. I'm like, what the hell just happened? How they supposed to be fighting the other team? And they just start fighting.
Like throwing fists at each other.
And it was real. And I still, like, when you YouTube it, you'll see it. Like when Lee Boyer they got pulled away, and then Lee Boyer turns around and his face at the camera, you see him like so angry. Like his teeth, he's gnashing his teeth, and he's just like so pissed. And Kieran Dyer doesn't know what hit him. I mean, other than Lee Boyer's face. Yeah. But he's angry, right? And later, and this is where the funny part begins, right? So they fought each other. They're on the same team. So the story is that Lee Boyer essentially hit Kieran Dyer because Kieran Dyer said, "I don't pass to you because you're shit." Right? He was honest, and he said, "मैं तेरे को ball नहीं देगा, तेरे को नहीं आता खेलने." So Lee Boyer got pissed and he hit him, and then they both get escorted off. They both get red carded, and then they step out. Graham Souness, legendary manager for Newcastle. I mean, his hair matched their jersey, salt and pepper. So when they step out of the field, they have a couple of people who essentially separate them, and then Graham Souness says, "नहीं छोड़ो, लड़ना है तो लड़ेंगे दिखते हैं." And then both of them said, "अच्छा नहीं, no, sorry, we won't fight." Right? And then they eventually call a press conference after that when they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that." Of course you meant to do that. What are you sorry about? You just fought him. And then later, like since then, they have obviously come out and said nicer things about each other. They say we are friends. But Sabri, you had a tidbit about Lee Boyer.
I had tidbit about Lee Boyer, yes, and I have another tidbit to share about Newcastle. Boyer recently, of course, he was asked, every time now Boyer is being interviewed, this one question will come up. Like, till he dies, this question is not going to leave him.
Yeah.
And again, he was asked, Sinit, I know you guys have done an ad together and everything, but if it were to happen again, Boyer, like, yeah, I would still punch him.
Boyer had actually a history of violence outside of football. So I don't think Kieran Dyer knew much about that.
But this is what I like about Newcastle, right? Right after the game, Shearer, I think, was the captain.
Yeah.
He's pissed off. Like, 3-0 down, 2 players sent off. I don't know what I'm going to do in the next games. Graham Souness is pissed off. He's given them a year. And the following season, the fans are expecting both of them to move. Surprisingly, both of them do not move. They're retained by the club. 3 other Newcastle players are sold. A year later, I think Kieran Dyer was the first one to leave. He went to West Ham. 3 years later, the other guy also joins him at West Ham.
Oh, wow.
What a comeback.
Word played again in West Ham. Thankfully, they did not fight there. But yeah, this is the story. That's his life.
Oh, absolute
and
shambles.
what a privilege to watch it live.
I can't believe I watched it live. I was watching Aston Villa versus Newcastle. A, B, this happened. I mean, 80th minute, 3-0 down, I'm still watching it. Something had to happen.
Yeah, no, Must-See TV. And Must-See TV was also when that absolute tin pot, and I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast, Joey Barton is on the field.
I don't think Joey Barton is listening to anything.
This is a guy I think he stubbed out cigarettes on a teammate.
Oh, wow.
I think Ousmane Dabo at Manchester City in training. He's literally gone, punched him and stubbed a cigarette out.
See, he also played for City before City had money. So I can imagine
also, that's not the worst thing that he's done, which is the worst thing completely. Right? This is one of the many things that he's done. If you Google Joey Barton incidents or whatever, one of the first articles is, here are 30 incidents. That's when it begins.
BuzzFeed started with a listicle saying 30 times Joey Barton has got into trouble.
And he's done insane things. He's done it on the football pitch. He's done it in training. He's done it on the streets. He's fought with random people, punched them, has gone to prison.
If you're insane throughout. Now, doesn't matter where you are.
Paid a bail, have done community service, and you still don't improve. And
I like how you want him to improve.
Because that is what the whole point of this is, right? Retribution, whatever. But this asshole, right? And I call him an asshole because if you want to be an insane person and fight, be like Zlatan, right? When you kick somebody, you stand there saying, yes, I have kicked you.
He waits for the cameras to pan to him and say yes.
No, Barton, right? And this particular incident, I think this was against, Morton Pedersen.
What a name. These are amazing names, man. Where are these names gone?
So some incident has happened and Barton goes and punches him in the stomach. And of course, Pedersen is off and he's a very thin, lanky guy, fast, and he falls down.
Amazing player though.
Cut.
Amazing left.
And then the camera pans to other things that are happening. The referee running in, the manager, nonsense. Next scene, Pedersen and Barton are talking to each other. And Pedersen is trying to tell him that, dude, you punched me and you can't do that. Like, I have the right to complain. And he's showing him, no, but I just touched my fist, not your ribs. And he's doing the action 3 times. If you hit somebody, you hit somebody, man. Just admit to it. You've done enough stuff. After the 2006 World Cup loss with England, I think
Why did that surprise you?
No, what surprised me is his behavior. He had a thing to say about everybody and why we were talking about
Can
England.
you
We did
imagine-
nothing because we didn't even go beyond the quarterfinals. By the way, here's my autobiography. He released a book the same year that England lost.
I
the
like how
World Cup.
Sapre has this inherent need for Barton to improve, and I'm sure you feel exactly that about Balotelli as well.
I wished because he's played at good clubs. But he never
without a club today.
No, he's joined his boyhood club, which is something that nobody knows of.
Brescia.
Brescia.
Oh.
Everyone knows this
I
boyhood
know.
club.
So he's moved to Brescia. I don't know what. He's going to fight there as well because that's Balotelli for you.
I love Balotelli, man. And we were just discussing this. His greatest contribution to the world of football has been that assist to Aguero. When he changed being a United fan, you should be aware that took
His
that
greatest
snatched
contribution
it.
to the world of football has been not being able to put on a bib.
That is a meme world of football.
Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, please go to YouTube and just type Balotelli babe. Or just type Balotelli. I think the first video that will come up is this one.
See, he's burnt his car, he's burnt his house, he's used firecrackers in a hotel room. He did that.
In his house.
In his
In his
house. Oh,
house,
sorry.
yeah.
Anyway.
But to top it all, he's fought with Joey Barton as well.
Oh, yeah.
In that infamous game at against City, where Barton goes and nicely, very casually or discreetly puts his elbow in Tevez's throat.
Oh, wow.
Tevez is
There is
down.
nothing casual about that.
No, Barton is like just casual.
Yeah.
And he's
Correct.
but he's again pleading that I haven't done this.
Yeah, and then he tries to kick Aguero as well.
No, he got a
immediately.
red card. Everybody is in. And he's leaving the field. That's when he sees Aguero.
You can't get 2 red cards now. Might as well.
No, and then so he got a red card, he's off, and he's again fighting with Balotelli on the touchline. Later, in an interview, Barton had said that the reason I kicked Aguero is because I wanted tempers to flare and at least get one person from there and also red carded.
Nice.
Smart
Team player. I like it. Very nice.
So
Feel it.
my
See,
God.
this is what we are saying. Aggression has carried over, but aggression has taken a different turn altogether. I mean, now it's become stupid.
Yeah, he's stupid. He's not even like a bad boy. He's just plain stupid.
Like, you remember Zlatan and Joey Barton having that tiff?
The nose thing?
The nose
Yeah.
thing.
Nose thing.
And when did Zlatan literally go behead his back to check what's his name?
He did
Is
that.
the
He
same
did-
thing?
he just turned his head.
Yeah, I mean, that is the biggest put down ever when someone says, Tera naam kya hai? Tu hai kaun?
But like Zlatan can afford to be the bad guy because he at least performs. Joey Barton was never a fantastic player. He's an average player, played in some decent teams.
Yeah, he made the England squad, so that says a lot about that
played
England squad.
Played at City before the money came in, and then he said that this team is playing so bad, I won't pay money to watch them.
Yeah.
While he was at City.
Because he was playing, right? So I don't blame them.
Oh, he's done enough and more, yeah.
Oh, Joey Barton. Okay, Shivram,
Yes.
question for you. Patrick Vieira versus Roy Keane. Who will win in a punch-up?
Vieira. He's bigger, he's broader, he's got more
Are you
aggression.
serious? Vieira?
Yeah, of course.
Sapre, Vieira.
If he manages to land the first punch.
Oh, so we're both agreeing. Nice. Okay, let's
If
move
he
on quickly.
manages to.
No, enough. Let's go.
Okay, going back to Joey Barton
Okay.
versus Craig Bellamy.
Oh, Craig Bellamy. I think Craig Bellamy is slower, but he's got more anger. So
Yeah, he'll bring a golf club and he'll hit you
yeah,
with it. Yeah.
I think Craig Bellamy.
Also, anybody up against Joey Barton will have a lot of support. He'll just be like hounded now.
Sab aa jao mere saath.
So in Bangalore, we call it pull. You know, if you have
Back in Delhi, we used to call it. Teri back hai kya?
Oh, back.
What is pull? What is back?
Pull is basically what is your pull in the
Area.
Like, matlab teri vat kya hai? This is the literal translation in
Bombay
Maharashtra.
doesn't have any of that.
यार टाइम नहीं ना किसी के पास
पहुंच है लेकिन वो दूर है विरार में है अभी उधर से ट्रेन पकड़ेगा वो इधर तक आएगा और स्टेशन पे रिक्शा नहीं मिलेगा
छोड़ ना तू ऑफिस के लिए लेट हो रहा है चल जाएंगे
कल बात करते हैं
Sir Alex versus Arsene Wenger.
Arsene Wenger, taller, bigger, faster.
You're just naming all the Arsenal players.
What do you want me to do? I mean, it is obvious.
Sir Alex will take that wine bottle and smash it on this.
See, you saw Wenger and Mourinho, right? What happened there?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Wenger
I mean, we
was
have
tough.
precedent.
Yeah.
So, I think Wenger is, he's wild. I'm sure when he's not like.
Wenger
tucked
is
in
wild.
and- when he's not tucked in and, you've seen those photos of him on the
He's
beach.
tucked in. He can't find his pocket on the coat that he's wearing.
No,
okay?
no. See, you're misinformed. He can't zip that up. Next year, you know what Puma did? They fixed that zip.
Yeah.
Wenger की गलती नहीं थी. Zip खराब था. Please.
Ferguson will win, yeah. Hands down. Doesn't
हाँ,
even have to
मतलब-
raise a hand. Like hands down, he'll just win.
गब्बर है ठाकुर है क्या सीन क्या है hands down.
क्या वेंगर पे कौन हाथ उठाता है यार?
Correct.
Zlatan versus anyone.
Zlatan.
Wait. Let us
Okay.
spend 2 minutes on this.
Okay.
Let's think
You're gonna
of
come
other
back to the
people.
same answer, so you can take your time.
Sure, but let us think of other players, who could be as aggressive. All right. So Zlatan versus Roy Keane. No, you're not They're not.
No.
You don't think Roy
So
Keane?
Zlatan is some taekwondo black belt, right? So, I mean...
Okay, wait. Okay. Jaap Stam.
Zlatan.
Really, Karthik?
Yeah, no. This is tough.
Jaap Stam, dude. Gattuso versus Zlatan.
Zlatan is like Sunil Shetty in Akrosh,
Oh,
where
wow.
he says that एक टाइम आएगा जब भी तुम मुझे मार मार के थक जाओगे.
Correct. तब मैं
मारूंगा, तब तुम कुछ नहीं कर पाओगे. And he proves that in prison when he's there. So Zlatan.
No, but Jaap Stam, Karthik, you know where I'm coming from. He's huge. He's a boulder.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like a nice person.
I don't think he's a nice person. He's a
See, this is Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg, right?
Barthez versus Zlatan.
Barthez!
Fabian Barthez.
Barthez will not be able to find his footing. Dude. Forget punching Zlatan.
No, I thought he was a little insane. So
But Zlatan kicked Casano, the most insane person in football, on the head.
That's true. Fine.
He's done many things. Zlatan for the win against anybody, unless it's Conor McGregor. But I think he'll win against him as well. So.
And
Conor
don't forget-
McGregor is 5 foot nothing, and he weighs some 150
Karthik,
pounds.
please, let's take it offline. This is the first time I want to say this. Let's take this offline. Which is literally the Delhi version of Bahar Milte.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm staying here with my lunch.
We'll see about that. Bring it home.
Okay, so shall we wrap this up? We're done with the fights.
Yes, for now.
Let's close with Shivram. How can we reach you?
So yeah, there was a lot of fights today. Surprisingly, we were all very civil with each other until the episode last. We'll see outside.
You can say that it's a podcast, so people really don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, that's true. So,
I mean, producer Splok hasn't spoken a word. He may not even be here. We might have beaten him to oblivion.
No, because
Okay.
half the show we spoke about United Arsenal in the early 2000s.
oh yeah, that's true. Producer Shlo.
Producer Shlo had no idea.
Yeah. Okay. So if
Hey,
you
Arsenal used to win titles.
Karthik, I mean, don't get me started on Fulham. We'll never. This will never happen. Okay, so if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. I highly recommend the IVM podcast app if you don't already have it. You can follow us on our social channels. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I'm Fickleberry Hun. That's Huckleberry Finn, but Fickle on Instagram and Twitter. You can find Sapre on...
You can find Sapre on Twitter with the handle Sapre, which is SAPRE, and on Instagram with a handle called GSapre. Send in your comments. Yeah? Send us some incredible fights that you witnessed that we probably forgot to talk about.
Yeah, we'd love to hear
But we'd
who
love
else
to-
could beat Zlatan. I'm sure there are a couple of them we're forgetting about, and I'm sure someone can beat Zlatan.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to what you guys have to say.
And where can you find Karthik?
And you can find me at Ierant, which is IYERANT, on Twitter and Instagram. Those were the bad boys of football. Sapre, Shiva and I are the bad boys of Football Shootball. Recognize.
Well, that was a special episode, and we'll return to regular programming next week. If you liked it and want us to do more of these, please tweet to us with your ideas, comments and suggestions. Do not forget to use hashtag Football Shootball. And if you didn't like it, tell us 3 reasons why you actually like the international break. And in at least 1,000 words. Just kidding. 2,000 words. Bye.
What do we have to do?
Welcome to What a Play, you guys. This is the favorite sports podcast of several sports persons such as myself, Dudeja and Mikhail, who also happen to be the hosts.
Yes, you should definitely listen to our podcast for our take and quite a uninformed but hilarious take on sports every week. We give out awards, we discuss what happened in the world of sports, and
We take breaks as well.
we come up with jingles and sound effects on the go.
Yeah.
So you should definitely give us an example of a sound effect, Dudeja.
Bolo Matthew Vade.
Yeah, tune in for some of that, bro. You can catch us on the IBM network every Wednesday on the go. On the Wednesday, in the Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, what a player. What a player, W, Wednesday, W. Wow.
Or Wednesday. Wednesday to Wednesday, Vade player, Matthew Vade.
Janice, what do you think couples did before TV was invented?
I don't know, go for walks on the beach, long drives, fancy dinners, have more sex maybe?
But what did we do when we decided to move in together? We debated between the Chromecast and the Fire Stick.
We gave up on sleeping early so we could stay up watching true crime shows.
We got ourselves 3 cat babies.
And basically became the cutest couch potatoes around.
Okay then.
In case you guys still haven't got it, we are a TV crazy, Netflix loving, binge watching Mr. and Mrs.
I'm Anirudh Kuha.
I'm Janice Sequeira.
And if like us, you snort TV for breakfast, lunch and dinner, this is the podcast for you.
Tune in every Thursday on the IVM podcast app or wherever it is that you get your podcast from. This is
Mr.
and Mrs.
Binge Watch.